What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to College Football Talk with Peter Burtnett, bringing you the third episode of my College Football Playoff first round predictions. In this video, I'm going to be going over Clemson versus Texas. This is a very, very interesting matchup that I'm excited to dive into. But before I do, if you go on to enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and turn on those post notifications so you're always up to date whenever I upload. But looking over this matchup, how did both of these teams get here? Well, Clemson, first of all, got off to about the worst start you possibly could. They kept things close in the first half against Georgia, but then were stampeded by the Bulldogs in the second half of a 34-3 loss. They started to pick up some momentum, gain some steam, got a couple of losses along the way, especially one in their Palmetto State rivalry against South Carolina, 17-14 in the regular season finale. They then, for the 8th time in the last 10 years, won the ACC championship game, this time over the SMU Mustangs in their first season in the conference. So Dabo Swinney sealed that final automatic bid to the College Football Playoff as one of the top 5 conference champions, and that's the 7th playoff appearance now for Clemson since it expanded, since the College Football Playoff became a thing in 2014 away from the BCS system. So it's the first time since 2020, though, so it has been a little bit since the Tigers have been there, but they're back this year. Then for Texas, they had a really good season, and they had one foe that they could not overcome, and that's the Georgia Bulldogs. They had turnovers, struggled with those in a 30-15 loss during the regular season, and then in the SEC championship game fell once again in a defensive battle that went to overtime against the Bulldogs. So both of these teams are coming into this game trying to advance to the next round in a game against Arizona State. I think it's at the Peach Bowl. So this is an interesting matchup. What are some areas to look at? Well, for one, Dabo and the Tigers are 10.5 point or 11.5 point underdogs. It's kind of spread is moving around a little bit. And they're going to be going up against a Texas defense that is arguably the nation's best. They're first overall in yards per play, and I think they're second overall in either scoring or total defense. I believe it's scoring. So this Texas defense is a lockdown defense. Their leader is really Jahdae Barron, and the rest of the Texas defense kind of follows suit behind him, who was the Jim Thorpe Award winner. For Clemson, the question for them is how will Cade Klubnik, who is actually an opponent of Quinn Ewers in high school, they faced off, I think, in the state championship game in Texas back when they were in high school, and also Phil Maffa. How will those two guys fare? Another couple of guys, I think Antonio Williams is their leading wide receiver, and Bryant Wesco is the second leading receiver for the Tigers. They kind of have a variety of options, not quite a 1,000-yard receiver, but Williams has a little over 800. However, it's not just about how this Clemson offense does. I think they're going to find things difficult. This Texas Longhorns defense as a whole is an excellent unit, but I think Texas has had some issues recently as well. First of all, Quinn Ewers has really had a lack of mobility since he suffered an injury earlier this season. So the question is, with that, will Arch Manning sub in to kind of provide that dual threat with his legs? And the Clemson defense has done well this season. They've struggled at times, including against Georgia in that season opener. They had a couple of games where they gave up a lot of points. They have some guys, though, who are kind of, it seems like they're more individual stars, whereas Texas has a collective unit. Clemson has a guy like TJ Parker, who has 11 sacks. Barrett Carter, who is kind of a consensus first-round NFL draft prospect. He has 76 tackles and 7 pass deflections, which is really impressive for kind of an edge linebacker guy. And then Sammy Brown is another linebacker for Clemson that is among the team leaders in tackles. Khalil Barnes in the back half has 4 interceptions out of the team's 15 total interceptions. So that ranks pretty highly. They're actually kind of just behind Notre Dame, who I talked about for their matchup against Indiana, who has 17 interceptions as a team. And they also have 10 fumble recoveries. So Clemson does a good job of creating turnovers, which was the issue for Texas, especially in that first loss to Georgia. And another thing is Ashton Hampton is kind of a player that maybe goes under the radar. He had a big pick six in one of their wins earlier this year. I think he could be a potential X factor to watch. One other thing, forgot to mention this, TJ Parker doesn't only get back there and get sacks for Clemson, he also has 6 forced fumbles. So again, we kind of know what we're going to get from the Texas defense, that overall they're an excellent unit. But I think this Clemson unit has some potential to potentially get some big plays. They might give up a lot of yards. They might give up a fair amount of points. But I think if they can make a big play, they can stay in this game. I think they do. I think Clemson actually covers the spread, but I do think Texas wins this game. I'm going to go with the Longhorns 31, Clemson 23. But that is my prediction for this college football playoff first round game. The last video in this series, Tennessee against Ohio State, will be coming later this week. But if you've watched this point in the video, thank you so much for watching College Football Talk. I'm your host, Peter Burtnett, signing out. Peace.